First of all, I've started the whole perspective against this project with the new EU strategy, Union of Equality, EU Gender Equality Strategy 25. So I'm not getting into details, but this is important to understand why even this project is about health issues, gender is a part of it. So it's part of all our work. It's an ambitious project, not only on EU level, but an international level, and focus on a shipping area or for onboard activities as well. So our proposal in the beginning was to have 3 dimensions for task 754 in gender analysis. One is to study the gender equity in project implementation or research activities with a simple KP survey, but to reflect if the EU policies are properly enforced in our project as part of the project quality management. So even if it sounds like a totally disrupted survey, it makes sense for our quality management to show that the women are deeply involved in research. There is no gap in a payment, no gap in the treatment, no gap in the leadership in research projects as well. So that was the purpose. In the end, the first result of task 754, which will be concluded on the report called Gender Equity in EU Project Implementation or Research Activities. Honestly, I look for articles on internet. There is none almost. So it will be good to have a little bit a short frame. We are many partners involved in this project. There is a Horizon project. So this is the value of the survey coming from. From the second dimension, I'll go focus to the crew perspective, because this is our field of expertise as Naval Academy. So the second KAP survey, which will be developed around the role of women on board the ship, but again, will be focused on a cruise line companies, because there are lots of studies overall, I mean, generally approaching the seafaring, but less on cruise lines, or almost none, just a few, I think 3-4 articles that I have identified. So we have developed an additional survey to identify the gender policies and procedures applied on board the ships. And that survey to be concluded with a report, seafaring gender dimension in the focus mainly on cruise lines. Also on this subtask, we will pursue to develop a training module, a punctual and interactive one regarding the onboard gender issues, but focus on operational and leadership aspects. As you could see already, and Barbara was so nice to spread it among the partners, we have developed, our academy has developed already a course under a project before that has been closed in 2019. Our intention is to improve it, to update it, and to simplify it a little bit, because that one is too complicated, and in a short and brief form, to offer it for cruise line crews on board, like a good material for gender awareness and gender policies and procedures way of acting on board. So the third one is not ours completely, but is related to T322 KP survey already developed by the team, and we have contributed with few interrogative questions that could be further transformed in a short survey, okay, regarding the gender, if is any. I got this criticism, if is any gender impact on a health issues on board the cruise ships. So if we'll collect enough data and relevant enough, we intend to develop a report regarding the gender impact on health issues on board the cruise ships, okay, and mostly crew and passenger references. Again, because this is such a sensitive subject, again, I don't know if there's any difference, but we will look after. So these are the 3 directions that we follow up in this task that we are leaders for. And as I told you, this is the Gantt chart, and we are now in 23, but I think it's feasible because other tasks will apply surveys as well. And as I told you, it's good to, and it's very efficient and effective to apply now. Okay, what about these surveys? Just briefly introduce you in these main themes. For the survey number 1, that's one dedicated to Healthy Sailing Consortium. The major purpose is to assess the gender and diversity policy awareness among the team members as part of the quality management system. And further, to identify the level of awareness, knowledge, and implementation of both SASH and Union of Equality strategies of the EU. Furthermore, we want to reveal the team members' perception and to assess the role of female leaders in professional field for project implementation and research activities. If there's any case of harassment biases, we will have a question and we'll have an open box. We forgot in the previous version, but in updated one, we will have a box where the interviewed persons, applicable persons, will be able to write any type of statement regarding occurred cases of harassment, biases, prejudices, or discriminations that they faced alongside their professional activity or alongside the project implementation. Again, this survey is focused on the gender issue for EU project implementation as part of the quality management system, because I got this question, why do we have 2 surveys? Because this one is dedicated for this specific objective. For the second, that one, as I told you, will be developed for onboard perception, for onboard procedures. For survey number 1, we have 8 interrogation boxes to group, to classify the respondents. We took under consideration the GDPR observation that we received. We also have 25 items to assess the awareness, gender influence. We grouped it, but we cannot get into details now. We finally select the Likert scale. To be clear for everybody, in the beginning we had a different perspective, but yes, Likert will be more clear for the final conclusions. And as I told you, the target group will be focused on a healthy sailing consortium team members and any position or on other stakeholders of the project involved in the implementation. For the survey 1, I posted here, my colleague already uploaded the Google form, is there, could be accessed, waiting for new suggestions. And we have this modern form of accessing by scan this the small icon. So this is the survey number 1. Again, we are still waiting for comments, suggestions. We are not in a hurry. It's good to have a very elaborated one to be sure that the conclusions will be fine enough. For references, we have used the European Union Gender Legal Framework. Here I have a synthetical provisions that we extracted from this generous instrumentary that the EU is using, like EU Charter, starting with EU Charter for Fundamental Rights and finishing with the Union of Equality Charter, the EU Gender Equality Strategy. Also, I pointed here United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, goal number 5, that everybody knows about it, and also WPC policy, EU action policy that is coming from 18, 19. So here are lots of other legal framework to add, but this is just a synthetical perspective. And extracting from the European gender policies, and those are basics on our prerequisite, is like EU is following up to assure equal treatment, a gender mainstream enough to integrate, no matter the gender perspective, and specific measures to promote women. So that's why we need in the project this topic of gender. Just update facts and figures. This is from the latest report coming from Gender Equality European Union Report 2023. I'm not reading all this, but just as I told, it's a webinar just to introduce you and to let you aware about these figures. And in the EU, more than 33% of the women experience physical or sexual violence. 55, which is quite high rate, have been sexual harassed. So it's again, it's quite a worrying number, and we are talking here about one of the most civilized part of the world. For the survey number 2, we have other main themes, but focus on the same gender importance. We want to assess gender and diversity policy awareness among the crew members. We want to identify the existence and implementation again of the SASH and EU gender, but also IMO, okay, because we have extracted the IMO policies as well. We want to reveal the crew members' perception regarding the onboard female professional role and also the role of females as leaders on board the ships, because the culture of the female professionals is going or is heading the leadership positions. And in the end, of course, to disclose if any cases of harassment or discrimination, prejudice, biases, or practices on board, focused, as I told you, on cruise line companies. Again, this CAPE will have the same 8 grouping checklist and 45 items to be assessed, with the open box to write eventually if there's any cases of harassments collected from to be collected from the applicants. Methods, again, Likert scale, and this target group will be mainly focused on seafaring professionals, cruise industry, just to follow up the onboard practices. We uploaded this survey too already, but we can still adjust it if we'll receive other suggestions in the future. For this second second survey, we have collected a lot of references as well, but this one on an international level and more focused on IMO, ITF, and International Labour Organization legal framework. Just a few are here. The list is, of course, more generous. It's starting with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, is going to the United Nations Gender Equality and Empowerment of Women Declaration, and also IMO, ITF. I'm not reading all this, but again, it's full of it's a very generous framework. What we need is just to enforce it. In regard to facts and figures that is related to the women seafaring, the percentages are more different than like another professional sectors. For maritime sector international level, according to the latest BIMCO ICS seafaring workforce report, only 1.2% of the global seafarers workforce are made by women, representing almost 24,000 women serving as seafarers. Of course, is an increment for the last report in 2015, but still not enough. IMO is strongly committed to follow up this United Nations 2030 agenda for sustainable development, and we will be happy to be involved in this, let's say, effort that we have. And this one, by the way, we will try to approach this gender issue next month in October 17th, 18th, 19th. We'll have the International Association of Maritime Universities Assembly in Finland. So we'll try to enforce this discussion and to retake it a little bit, because the IMO has to play a more important role for IMO work from now on. Okay, so for facts and figures, I have consulted, of course, a lot of materials, just like a brief induction. If you look at the map, most of the countries are around 6 to 9% women insertion. But for Europe, Spain is the most advanced, 16% of the women involved in seafaring, and France is 10%. Sweden 13%. For Eastern Europe, I can tell you that is 5 to 7%, depending on the countries. Okay, for the survey, we have found 2 important surveys that we are considered as prerequisite for our work in this task. The first one is in August 2020, gender diversity survey developed by International Seafarers Welfare Assistant, ISVAN, the Chamber of Shipping ICS. And if you can see here, the survey was sought to gather information for women seafarers about issues about discrimination, harassment, bullying, and more than 1,000 women were respondents coming from 78 nationalities. And most of the study respondents were from cruise ships. We will consider most of these conclusions in our reports further. For the next survey prerequisite. In 2019, a very interested survey has been conducted in India by Sitara Shipping Company. And here the survey succeeded to reveal the major, let's say, the major issues that the women are facing on board the ships, like lack of skills, lack of concentration, less efficient. He said all this to be available on this presentation to be informed, but we are looking forward to identify maybe new characteristics in our surveys as well. For the gender seafaring policies, we are following mostly Vista publications and Vista work based or referring to the gender culture in connection with diversity, inclusion, equity, and cultural fluencies. This one will be used, and that's why it's in this presentation to like initial awareness presentation about the type of information that we'll include in our training materials for gender awareness in a seafaring professional sector. So for gender issues, the major challenges are grouped mainly in professional challenges and workplace challenges. These two conquering toward the company possible procedures and policies that could be applied. In the next slides, but I'll go briefly for them. I try to make a synthetical approach of each of this, just to show that the women insertion is very important on board the ships because of this reason that you can see here about making this environment more productive, diffusing the prejudice and stereotypes for a work effectiveness increment, help individuals to understand and respond effectively to the needs of others, and to work together to empower the people in respecting and appreciating the differences. In terms of challenges, first topic, challenges faced by women seafaring. There are 5 challenges. Each of these can colport a lot of discussions, but again, I'm showing you just to see how's the direction for the next training material that we will develop. So we are talking here about discrimination, harassment, bullying, isolation, and fixed mentality. Each by one discrimination, direct or indirect one, relating of treating someone less favorably or applying differently the policies and procedures on board, taking under consideration the age or other characteristics like sexual orientation or something like that. So this is the discrimination. The harassment is already very well known, but we have here mental and sexual harassment, both of them. And here some of the actions that could be considered harassments. And here we have a problem, like as I could see in the Indian survey that I reminded you about, that not too many seafarers are aware about what harassment means. Sometimes they are doing things or actions unconsciously. I mean, they are not in purpose done, but they are disturbing the female crew members as well. So that's why the awareness is important, okay, just to overcome this possible unwanted behaviors. For bullying, again, very sensitive. Bullying is a form of harassment related to hostile behavior. Very difficult to define it, very sensitive to define it, very volatile as concept. And again, we found out a lot of seafarers, even some of our students, because we have our own study in 2019 applied on cadets. So we could find out that sometimes even new generation, they don't know things about this hostile behavior, which one of our actions on board the ship could be considered as bullying. Even more, we have this cyberbullying new component of the bullying with new actions, let's say, related to the digital environment that we should accord more attention to. So again, this shows us that the gender challenges are not related to in-purpose behavior, but sometimes it's just because the males are not aware enough about these sensitive actions they can take unconsciously. Isolation is coming from the women's side, but is considered as being a challenge because the women are mostly less, I mean, not less, not such easy accepted by the teams, especially as a male-dominated teams. So they have difficulties in being accepted in the first stage of their performance on board the ships. But after a while, they become accepted and appreciated. So still a reluctance also, then that's why we are stressing the leadership model for women. It's a reluctance to promote women on senior positions. 1 out of 10 are, I mean, on the leadership positions on board the ships are female officers, which is, of course, an unacceptable rate, and it is related to this mentality and biases that we are practicing still in the maritime sector. And because of the biases, offshore, this is very important biases and fixed mindset about women. It's still a man's job. This maritime sector is considered as being tough enough. Sometimes we neglect the fact that maritime sector becomes very technical one, doesn't require for physical capacities, abilities anymore, and could be open wide sector for women. So it's still considered a man's job, maybe because of this fixed mindset that we have. The mindset is, of course, makes the women anxious and depressed and loss of appetite. First of all, lose the appetite for the challenges acting or working in the crew on board, which is not written here, that we succeeded to understand, conducting many interviews in the mentorship section with our cadets, is like the women consider themselves like they are not as good as males sometimes. So we have to work with this dimension very, very hard in the future. For these challenges is clear, these challenges faced by the woman, but the less touched are the workplace challenges. And here we are pursuing more tracks. This is only for IMO, but now we have in plan to add more workplace challenges. Few examples like poorly fitting personnel, female, different physical features like male. Sometimes they go on board and this safety equipment, protective equipment, doesn't fit them. So that means the companies are not always ready to accept women on board from the beginning. Also, working conditions, and not just about toilets, but around the sanitary products, daily life approach is mainly conducting like all the crew members are males, which is even for Navy, because we have this military side as well, is the same challenge, maybe tougher than in the civilian side. Okay, for the company's policies, like coming from women challenges and workplace challenges that we have, the company should proceed with fair working procedures, starting with the recruitment, building a cultural awareness regarding the gender, and practicing both zero tolerance policy, but redressal process enforcement by specific procedures on board. Like we could collect from Maersk, CMS, Jimin companies. They are having this these procedures and zero tolerance policies already enforced. Okay, so yeah, this is how the policies are seeing the major strategy implemented. Unbiased recruitment process, just comparing with unbiased evaluation process, assessment process. So we have to recruit fairly, we have to assess the personnel fairly, and to empower female servers in the workplace like the males, with no difference, based on a culture of awareness, based on a culture of sensitization and a gender awareness among the crew members on board the ships. For the women seafarers, there are lots of suggested policies, and these are coming from the women side, addressed to the companies, and are collected by Vista in their latest survey. Maybe I can introduce a question like that, because we missed it in our survey as well. What will be your suggestion on a female seafarer, if you'll be in a position to create a policy or a procedure for that? And everything is related about what have I just presented to you, enforcing the trust of respect on board, equal opportunities, a good and very comfortable, easy reporting compliance procedure, And we have added this thanks to our colleagues' suggestion in our questionnaire as well. Good medical services, change in the mindset, mentoring, and fair evaluations, because this is also a big trouble that we are facing on board the ships. For our training course, still on the way to be developed. We are collecting information and we have our previous work, but we are focused on 4 topics. First, in the general framework of diversity management on board the ships. Second one is diversity management in the maritime sector specifically. Third, which will be approaching coping with gender equity problems in maritime sector, both in challenges facing professional challenges and policies, procedures that the companies can enforce on board the ships. And in the last topic, we want to approach the women integration in maritime profession and their roles are leaders and crew members as well. So this is the plan, war plan that we have drafted for our onboard gender issues operational leadership aspects training course that will be further developed for the seafarers. And yeah, here are some in my closing remarks, some of the references, but there are many others. We just made this, let's say, work of literature review. We have a generous number of references that had been studied and that are on the way to be studied. So that's all for my side. If you have any questions, still I'm waiting for suggestions after this presentation, or furthermore in the next couple of months, in that way that in the end of October to have a final draft for our survey if we collect other observations or suggestions from you. Thank you very much for your attention.